this actually is really big news. Okay, so shout out to G Money in the chat for letting me know this first. I don't know if someone said it before, but he was the main one that said it. So as you guys know, the San Antonio Spurs are going to be getting two lottery picks, that is. So actually, let me bring that up. NBA draft lottery odds. Here we go. So as you can see here, they got the San Antonio Spurs taking 8th, which that's most likely what we're probably going to get, and then the Atlanta Hawks, 1, which more than likely be 14th, but it is a lottery pick. So there's a percent chance that it can be a top 4, but more than likely it's going to be 14th, right? What we really needed to happen was for the Dallas Mavericks to win that game against Memphis. I believe they were playing. They didn't win it, so yeah, it's no longer a coin flip, and we don't get a higher pick. But the Atlanta Hawks not making the playoffs is huge, and any spots that you can move up towards that lottery is a W for us, right? Now, as you guys know, we have quite a few draft picks coming up, right? So if you look at the San Antonio Spurs draft picks incoming on Fanspo, you can see that after 2025, we have an Atlanta swap possibility. So we could swap with Atlanta, and it says here San Antonio will receive the more favorable of its 2026 first round pick. Now I'm gonna tell you this right off the bat. Maybe this is too much faith in my Spurs. I expect us to be in the playoffs next year. Okay, I fully expect us to be in the playoffs. And I thought initially, before G Money said anything, I thought that Atlanta and the San Antonio Spurs were going to be one and the same, right? Like maybe we move up just a few spots or whatnot. I thought maybe Atlanta squeezed their way into the playoffs because they have just been so consistent with being mediocre and being so content. That's what I meant to say. Content with being mediocre. And in the East, unfortunately, mediocrity can get you in the playoffs, right? You can't do that when you're the Spurs in the West. But I did expect the Spurs to be pretty doggone good, and I thought that Atlanta would be mediocre, make it to the playoffs, yada, yada, yada. And our picks are not that different, right? But the Atlanta Hawks are going in a different direction. They fired Landry Fields. They, I hope I say this right, Onsi Soleil. They promoted him to GM. And it says here, Atlanta Hawks initiate search for president of basketball operations, and Soleil promoted to general manager. So we have here the owner saying this: every offseason we evaluate how we operate and ways we can improve our organization. As we enter this pivotal offseason, we have several complex decisions ahead of us, and we are committed to providing the human and financial resources needed to ensure that we navigate these decisions with a high level of precision and foresight. Adding an accomplished senior level leader to provide strategic direction, yada, 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 yada. All that is great. Enough jargon. He always also has here, I would genuinely like to thank Landry for all he's done, and thank you, get out of my office. So with that being said, it is highly likely that because Soleil here will be the new GM, that he actually go in the direction that the team probably should go in, right? And that direction is blow it up. I mean, at this point, just blow it up, right? They have a lot of faith in their first overall pick. They, obviously got quite a few young guys. Just blow it up. Just blow it up. Move Trae Young, get as much as you can out of him, because you're going to get plenty. So why not just do it, right? I don't think that at this point the Atlanta Hawks are going to continue to just go down this road of mediocrity. Now, I know a lot of people are saying, they're like, well, they don't really own their pick in 2026, which is absolutely true, but you have to go in some direction, right? Maybe you can trade Trae Young and you get a first round pick for 2026, right? And obviously your future isn't in your hands, but it's in someone else's hands. But maybe you could do that. Maybe you can get some for the future as well, right? Because the Spurs got their 2027 as well. So I think it's going to be a win for us, but also a win for Atlanta if they do just go ahead and just blow it up, right? Your last GM made some crucial mistakes. I mean, I know that it big part of it was due to the front office and the ownership, like actually wanting to make that deal happen with DeJounte Murray. But at the very least, this says that they're sitting back and they're like, okay, we made some mistakes. Maybe you can see him as a scapegoat, Landry Fields, but it is an indication that we're ready to go in a different direction. And as far as looking for a president basketball operation, because honestly, it's kind of hard to find these terms, like the difference between GM and PBO. But I looked it up, ChatGPT, just real quick. So if you guys are interested in that. So as far as what they're looking for now is a president of basketball operations. They're basically the top decision maker. They're the, as someone in the chat said, they're the boss of the GM. They oversee the GM. They got the big picture vision, right? So focuses more on long-term strategy, culture, and philosophy of the basketball organization. Involvement in ownership level discussions, often works closely with ownership on franchise direction, finances, and major decisions. This is actually much better than if you just like Googled it, to be honest. And then GM, day-to-day operating. We all know what a GM does, but manages player contracts, salary cap, scouting, trades, draft strategy, implements vision, executes the vision set by the president and ownership, right? Staff oversight, oversees scouts, analytics departments, and sometimes coaching decisions. Negotiator in chief, and this is why Brian Wright is the man, often the one making calls to agents, negotiating trades, and working the phones during the draft and draft deadline. So they are about to do a complete rehaul. And this can only be a W for us, right? And another thing to bring up too, maybe this doesn't happen if they make the playoffs, right? Maybe this doesn't happen if they make the playoffs, but thankfully, because they were trash and they lost in the play-in, this is happening. So our future picks could look really nice. And what's even more beautiful about all of this is, like I said before, guys, in the future, this is how much faith I got in this team. I expect playoffs 2026, so I expect to get Atlanta's. In 2027, I expect the Spurs to be making somewhat of a run, like a true run, a real run, and we'll still have Atlanta's. And if they do blow it all up, they're not going to be great initially, unless they trade Trae Young for superstars right off the bat, but that's more than likely not going to happen, right? They should be smarter than that and saying, hey, let's think long term. So going to be a whole rehaul of Atlanta. So hopefully they go in that direction and things are looking pretty good for us, right? But yeah, Spurs are going to trade those picks, Chief. Which picks? The Atlanta picks? Wait, why would we trade the Atlanta picks? Am I missing something? Why would we do that? I don't see a reason in doing that. For LeBron? Okay. We're joking. We're trolling. You are dreaming the Hawks are going to blow it up. If Jalen hadn't gotten hurt, they would have been in the playoffs with Zach's growth. So what direction would they be going in? They can. Here's the thing. Here's the funny thing about it, right? If they do just go with what they got and just be mediocre, it's still a win for us. But I could very much so see this as because what they really need to do is just blow it up. They should have. Atlanta Hawks fans in general and specifically have been talking about this for years. They've been like, we just need to blow this thing up. They just need to blow it up. Anyways, that's all I have to say. So I am excited to see what direction they decide to go in. Obviously, Atlanta is one of those teams that we're going to be paying close attention to because it directly affects the Spurs and our future. But we're still doing great things. We'll be fine. I think we'll be better than Atlanta. But with that being said, I'm expecting them to just blow the thing up. Why not? Trade Trae Young. You can get he's very valuable. You can probably get quite a few first-round picks for him. And yeah, it's maybe not in your hands. You can't just necessarily just fully tank. There's no point to. But at the same time, you know that, hey, we got a spot in these upcoming drafts, right? Like that's the best way you can go about this. Because it's not really making a lot of sense. Let's see. Hawks will more than likely blow it up for a haul of picks on Trae, or they'll be mediocre for life. Exactly. So you can either blow it up and it's great for us, and it'll be good for your future, or you can remain mediocre which is terrible for your future and good for us. Not as great, but good for us, you know? So, good stuff. Good news. Big news. Thank you, Atlanta, for everything.